Good afternoon, everyone. It is 2 p.m., so we are going to get started with today's webinar. Any of you who are joining, please feel free to mute yourselves. We will be having the chat open for you to submit any of your questions. So let's start by introducing today's webinar and your speakers. Today, we will be discussing how to prepare your business for more meaningful marketing in 2025. I'm Shannon Turner, your partnership strategist, so I'll really be here just leading the conversation, but the wealth of our knowledge is going to come from Marnie Oakes-Raleigh, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Well, hello, and thank you, Shannon. That's really awesome. I love being able to talk about some very passionate topics here, and that is marketing and your digital presence and your branding and all of the wonderful things that go into your footprint that we work with. And as the owner and founder of Evolve Systems, it has been just a joy over the last 22 years to be on this journey. Things have certainly changed. We continue to evolve. And I'm excited to be talking about the future because the future certainly looks bright, and 2025 is going to be an exciting year for all of us.
Thank you, Marnie. We can start off with a couple of housekeeping pieces and go over our agenda for today. So first of all, today's webinar is going to be 60 minutes long. That'll be 45 minutes of this knowledgeable content from Marnie, and then a 15-minute Q&A where we can pick her brain about any of the specific questions that you have. This session will be recorded, and at the end of this session, we will be sharing the webinar recording, the slide deck, and any links that we discussed during the presentation. If you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Otherwise, at the end, we will open the floor for a discussion. So what we'll be talking about today is going through a number of things that are really going to help set you up for success in 2025 by looking at what's going on now and planning ahead for the future. So we will start by discussing how to align your business plan and your marketing for a growth strategy. We'll look at auditing your website performance and longevity, making sure that's all ready for the upcoming year. Auditing the right marketing channels for your business to put you in the right places in front of the right people. Then discussing financial responsibility and budgeting for digital success, really knowing how you should be investing that budget, how it should be divvied up, and what you should be putting those efforts toward. Then we will help you access our digital success checklist that you can download for your team to really evaluate where you're at so far and what's left to accomplish this year. Then we'll go over some key takeaways and closing comments before we do open up the floor to discuss with Marnie. So diving right into it, let's talk about aligning your business plan and your marketing for a growth strategy, discussing setting growth goals and driving business with meaningful marketing. So Marnie, talk to us about setting growth goals for a business.
I'm a very goal-oriented person. I have to have those nice little check boxes where I'm putting together what my agenda is for the day and then being able to work through it. And we're also an EOS company, and so that really lends itself to putting together what are the rocks, what are the overarching goals, and how do you break that down annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly. And so really understanding what those growth goals are is important. And one misnomer that we run into quite a bit is that a lot of our business owners, they will anticipate that a marketing strategy is really their business plan. And there's a huge, huge difference between having your business plan and having that marketing strategy. They are simply not the same, but they do need to mesh very nicely together. And what we like to take a look at is really what is that business strategy? What is that business plan? And the business plan is what is the overarching goals that the company is wanting to achieve, both short-term and long-term. It discusses more of the financial aspects of the business and then what the sales strategy is. The marketing strategy really is focused in on what is the marketing budget? What are the goals that marketing needs to do in order to support what the sales strategy needs to be? And so not quite the same, but they do need to play into it together. And one of the questions that we love being able to ask clients is, do you have a current business plan? Is it something that you can share with us? You know, and inevitably, if a business has been around for several years, they don't have an updated business plan, and that's understandable. But we certainly like to make sure that when we're putting together our strategy for their marketing, that it leads to exactly what the business plan is trying to achieve, because key stakeholders and people in the C-suite are focused in on the business plan. They just need to know that the marketing is going to be supporting that. And so how do you put that success strategy together is really important. And marketing is a huge umbrella. And so marketing can be interpreted as either traditional marketing, it can be print advertising, it can be PR, it can be digital. And how is it that you have to pull all of those unique pieces together so that you can find that synergy? And then really discovering what your growth potential is. Where are those little hidden nuggets that you have within your company that your competitors may not? And so one of the first things that we like to do is to perform a SWOT analysis. And so a SWOT is identifying what your current strengths, weaknesses, what opportunities may be, and then what are threats. And it's not just a threat to your company, but what is a threat to your industry? We've seen so many industry disruptors that just come and completely change the way that we do business. A really great example of this would be what Airbnb did to the hospitality industry. They completely disrupted it. And so we have to take a look at what all the threats are, and then we need to plan ahead and anticipate how we're going to be addressing what those issues are, and have conversations not only with the leadership teams, but also having those SWOT conversations with independent department leads or deliverable team members, because they all have a different lens into what opportunities are, what clients, what their strengths are, and then really where are their weaknesses, because again, that lens is just so different. And it's also important to really understand what your clients are thinking about this, and having those conversations with your ideal audiences to understand how can we make the SWOT more effective. And I firmly believe that every company needs to start each year out with a refreshed SWOT analysis. And when we go through and do our annual planning, it sure is fun to pull a SWOT analysis from previous years, because gosh, does that ever feel good to check a few things off the list of identifying, hey, this is a weakness, or this is something that we can do better, and seeing how we address that. Your marketing needs to do the exact thing, because marketing tactics change so frequently. And Google, who can be our best friend and also the biggest challenge in our life, they change what their rules and regulations are as well. So making sure that we're taking a really good holistic approach to that is very important. And then reviewing what the current market is doing. So again, Google makes all these changes. What we thought that was working great a year ago may completely be different. And then products and services that you may have either enhanced or introduced or downsized on really needs to be identified with the scalability. And how are you going to maximize that for the next year? You know, we have that cliche term, what is low-hanging fruit? But really, what are the hidden nuggets that we can help find? And that's just part of the strategy conversations. And then really refreshing that strategy. You know, I think that business and goals and life changes so fast in the world that we're living in right now, that before we would be able to do, here's your strategy for the entire year. But I think what we have seen the most success with is understanding, here's your overall arching umbrella. And what is going to be our strategy for the next 6 months? And then how are we going to provide that value? And what are the goals that we're needing to hit? And then once those goals are identified, backing that out for a monthly connection, because things happen so fast. And you don't want to be putting a strategy that is in concrete for longer than 6 months because of those changes. You need to remain flexible with it to be able to make those quick market pivots. And then really knowing what your KPIs are. And KPI is your key performance indicators, and measuring those and making sure that you've got consistency in how you're measuring those. Because, you know, in the EOS world, one of the most important pieces to keep track of is your scorecard. And the scorecard is really what are your KPIs for each one of the different department breakdowns, and how do you incorporate those into your success strategy? And if you were sitting on an island and not able to be with your business and you needed your team to give you very quick updates, your KPIs are telling you what's working well, what's growing, what needs to be revisited, and how you need to execute differently. And then again, keeping that pulse all year long is so important. The consistency of it is really how you can define the success at the end of the year. But it's so important to break out those monthly milestones. And we see so many people that will want to have immediate results within a very short amount of time. And sometimes that's just not possible because we're working with so many third-party pieces, or like Google, they sometimes will take their own sweet time. And so sometimes our expectations and then what reality is a little bit different. So keeping your pulse on it all year is a really great way to be able to be looking at it for 2025.
Sorry about that. So if we are going to talk about how more meaningful marketing drives business, how would you guide us through that?
Well, telling your story. I mean, our story is so important. And, Shannon and I were, as we were putting this together, we were talking about our story, and we were talking about, how we started in business years ago is completely different to what we're doing now. And our key ideal audience changes. And I think that's really important for businesses to keep a pulse on. So evaluate that marketing for cohesive and consistent branding. We went through and did a rebrand about 4 years ago because we recognized that our brand was no longer talking to our ideal audience. And we've had a lot of fun with it. And having that consistent branding all the way through not only the website, but through your social media, through all of your marketing collateral, to the tone that you use, that your sales team is putting together, and making sure that you've got that aligned messaging is critical. And we will create brand playbooks for clients to ensure that all of their team members are really working from the same guidelines. And making sure that you're setting yourself apart in the market is really important. And, we did something really fun when we went through and did our rebrand. And that is we worked with an artist that we provided all of our design elements, and they created a beautiful print, and you can actually see that behind us. So we have our branding that has gone through not only our marketing collateral, our website, you can see the branding as it's through our PowerPoint presentation, but then we also have beautiful clothing that has been created. And we know that that's just a little excessive, but it certainly is fun to show up wearing something that is beautiful to an event that people recognize versus a polo shirt with the logo that is embroidered on it. And so really understanding, how does your brand show up? How does it represent you? And when people can recognize that brand, there's a lot of trust that automatically gets built because they know who you are. And take a look at either Coke or Pepsi. I mean, those are some big name brands, and they have very consistent branding. You can recognize a Coke sign without even the word on it, or Target is right here in our own backyard. And how fun is it that whenever you see that, the Target symbol, that you know exactly what it is for. So building that brand recognition is important to do. And we work with clients for their brand recognition just on pay-per-click to be able to get their branding out there even more for that recognition. Reviewing your competitive landscape is so important. And taking a look at who you think that your competitors are, but also taking the time to dive in and understand who Google thinks that your competitors are and who your clients think that your competitors are. And then when you have that SWOT analysis information, it's much easier to be able to update those differentiators and find those little unique pieces that make you so special, that help you to tell your story better. And then focusing in on your customers to deliver the best experience. I mean, when was the last time that you put yourself in your customer's seat to be able to understand what your journey truly is? Because what you experience from the initial interaction with the brand to the journey that goes through your sales process to an onboarding process to getting a product, how is that experience that is being communicated back to you? mean, any type of feedback that you get is really a blessing from a client, whether it's something that you agree with or not. The fact that somebody took the time to give you that feedback so that you can continue to enhance what that overall experience is so important. And, we often will take a look at the copy that is provided for websites. And when we see that copy is just mainly speaking to somebody rather than them hearing what it is about and talking to and engaging with really quality created content is really important for that journey, because right now we see people using AI, and it's very transactional. We have the opportunity to start creating relationships, not only through branding, but through the copy, and then through that journey to be able to tie it all together, because I think that we have really missed out on that human element. And it is so important that we're all living in a very transactional world right now. How do we put that human element back into the quality copy, to the quality journey, into the relationship piece? People want to know who they're doing business with. People really want to know that the money that they're spending and where they're sharing that money is going to somebody that they want to support. And so that relationship piece is just so important. So putting that human element back into meaningful marketing should be on one of the top priority lists for people. And then really complete that loop. And this is something that we run into, and it's so fun to be able to identify those aha moments, because we can work with people in doing the marketing. I mean, the whole goal of marketing is lead generation. I mean, let's be real. We have brand awareness, and then we have lead generation. And those leads coming in need to be creating the conversation. And that's what brings us back to making sure that the whole team is aligned with what that brand voice is. And then what happens once that lead is kicked over to the sales team? Are they closing the lead? Do they have all the processes in place in order to properly handle a lead, to nurture the lead? Do they know how to close it? And then how do you continue to grow those relationships? And this right here is the secret sauce for marketing in 2025. We're hearing it everywhere. And it's really important that people put that relationship and that human element back into all the transactions, because we're all looking for different tools to automate it, but we need to use those automation tools. But how do we make it personal?
I think you made a lot of good points there, especially talking about that customer experience. We see a lot of businesses who come to us and believe that they really understand what their process is in a healthy way because they've designed it, but not a lot of them have actually gone through that experience pretending to be the customer, going through your social media and using that as the way that you're getting to the website, or searching in an incognito browser for the services that interest you, and then going through what it's like to land on your website, try to navigate to look for specific information, go through that contact form and make that connection, walk through the conversation with your sales team and see how they continue to build on what you just read, and then watch how we handle it with account managers or whoever is dealing with that client for the ongoing relationship to make sure everything is cohesive and there's no gaps, because going through the process is really different than planning the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So let's talk about if our websites are prepared for 2025, looking at auditing that performance and longevity to make your website your best salesperson and evaluate our technology to make sure that we are set up for success. So how do we make our websites our best salesperson in 2025?
Yeah, that's a really open-ended question. And I always like to look at it as a website is really your 24/7 online billboard. You don't know who's going to be driving by. You don't know who's going to be searching for what, but gosh, you really need to make sure that the information that is on your website is relevant. And by doing that, you really have to start with taking an audit. Take a step back, have somebody that is not as familiar with what your brand is trying to say to ask those tough questions, because I think we all run into that situation where, gosh, I've said this so many times within my company, it makes sense to me, but then we may forget about it when we are looking at the website through that third-party lens. And so aligning the website with that content with your current services and goals, there are many times that we're working with clients and they're like, oh yeah, we introduced this new product, or we had to change it because there is a new federal regulation that came through that we needed to make this adjustment. But was that adjustment made on the entire journey for your customers? Was it on the website? Was it on your marketing materials? Does all of your team know it? Has all of your SOPs been updated? So as you grow, so should your content. And, content remains king on the internet. And it is so important that you pay close attention to that. So identify what's changed and why does it matter? I mean, making sure that you are answering the question for your ideal audience member when they come to your website. Are you talking to their pain points? Are you talking about how you can make their life easier? Are you making it just a real, I want to say that word no-brainer, but is this a no-brainer response back on the website that it makes it really easy for them of why wouldn't they pick up the phone and call you? So making it super easy for customers to understand everything that you do. And sometimes it's even making adjustments within the UX UI of your website, making menu adjustments, and then taking that time to say, hey, does this align with how my website is displaying on a desktop and on a mobile application or on an iPad? Because with the websites today, they're all mobile responsive, but are they responding the right way? So just, again, make it super easy for your customers to understand everything that you do, make it easy for their journey so that they can find what they're looking for. And then do an assessment of how well your website is really reflecting your branding, and have that tough conversation with somebody that is not familiar with your website to say, does this branding really represent the level of product or service that we represent? Is it in line with what our competitors are doing? Is it using the best practices for organic SEO? So ensure that that website is delivering the same quality and that experience that they would have with working individually with your team. And then really evaluate it. Is your website optimized for search engine optimization? And is it relevant to your audience? So are those qualified leads finding you? I mean, we've got a lot of clients that didn't go through the right process when Google made their change over to GA4, and their analytics are not providing accurate data. And if you're not getting accurate data, that's going to be an issue. We'll talk about that in the next few slides, but identify what's missing and check those SEO and those research keywords. And it's not just the research keywords that you think, but it's like, what are the keywords that Google thinks? And how do we get that organic marketing? So the other question that I get asked an awful lot is like, how do I know when I need to redo my website? Or, can I do another quick refresh to be able to get us closer to what we need, because we don't have either the time or the bandwidth with our budget to be able to go through and do a big overhaul. And the message that I'd like to communicate to business owners is technology is changing so fast, and all of the different components of how people are interacting with digital is changed dramatically. And so you need to be putting it in your budget for every 3 years to be seriously looking at doing a refresh. And if you can't do a full, I want to say, website overhaul, work with somebody to identify what are the easy things that need to be refreshed to be able to buy you a little extra time, because we understand that 3 years is rather aggressive if the website is not a predominant item for how you gain business.
Yeah, and I will say, we talk a lot with clients about when is it time to do a whole website overhaul versus just refreshing some of the content on there. And one of the answers that we always give is that your website is a constant work in progress. So it is not something where it used to be where, hey, I got up all of my services, I talked about our process, we're good to go, we never have to touch this again. Because like we talked about, Marty went over a lot of these items, your services change. The way that you engage with your clients should be constantly improving. Year over year, you have new processes, new people, new ways of doing business, and all of that should be reflected. So you should be releasing new content, making sure that your content is relevant. I would say quarterly, just check out your website. Does everything look good? And then I would say on an annual basis, at least look at exploring what's missing, how can we do better? Do we need to create some new landing pages that are going to get us better targeted SEO and keywords? Or is it really time where we just need to relaunch and show everyone that we're putting time and money into what we're offering?
Yeah, long ago, a business owner or a marketing director would be able to say, here's my checklist of things I need to get done for the year. And they would work on a website, and when it was done, it was done. And that is the old way of thinking. A website is a living, breathing marketing piece. It is one of your most vital assets that you have in your company, and it needs to be treated that way. We see a lot of businesses that want to make sure that their marketing is working for them, but yet they don't invest in it. They don't put the time in it. And done is never done in this world. And, you know, Shannon, you bring up a good point. It's like, how do you update all of your content? And, you know, it's fun when you go out and you see clients that are actively putting blog articles out with really great thought leadership information on a consistent basis. And that again brings in that human element and helps to grow trust to your clients that you are running and you are owning this piece of your market.
It gives a great reason to revisit the website, to continue going back, which can up your traffic and show people new opportunities of other ways to engage with you. And it's also great for SEO to be putting blogs and content out there that's going to reach people in a different way by them coming to you as someone who is informing them about something they care about, and then them leading into the services that are on your website. So it can be a great multi-channel entry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's now discuss the technology that's on our website and how we can check the tech.
Ooh, check the tech. So technology changes, and we all know that it's hard to keep up with it. So if you don't have somebody that is full-time in that webmaster seat, that things can very quickly escalate into issues. And so we like to make sure that we're helping our clients check what we consider their vital signs. So a few quick things would be running speed tests, fixing broken links, ensuring redirects are set up correctly. And it is amazing how some of these things can just mysteriously change. And then making sure you're testing forms. We've got clients that rely on their website to be bringing leads in, and only to discover that their IT department has different switches set up so that if they are receiving a lot of emails that are coming from one specific place, that they'll mark it as spam. And then suddenly it goes into this black hole, and you'll have gone for a month or two without verifying that those contact forms actually are going all the way through. So we make sure to test forms. We offer a program that's called our TWS, or a Technical Webmaster Services Plan, that does address a lot of these different vital signs. And we like to make sure to be proactive rather than being reactive. I think it's really important that when we're looking at, you know, updating all of the different plugins that is necessary for websites. So this could include modules, plugins, the contact form. It really is important to be verifying that that happens, because if you don't, then you may be susceptible to malware attack. And if that happens, your website could go down. And if the website really is one of your number one value generators, then if your website is down, what is the expense that could be costing? So let's make sure that all of that is taken care of. And if some things are not updated that they should be, it could slow down the site. And one of the items that Google uses in their organic ranking is, what is the speed of your website? So do you have the right image sizes that are on there? And just going through and having somebody that understands it really helps to be able to move forward. And then we already touched base a little bit about the mobile experience. So is the UX UI needing to be changed as the website goes from a desktop application into a mobile application? And is it really easy for your customers to find you? And so this runs into checking your analytics. Like, what is the percentage of traffic that comes from a mobile user? And then what are the pages that they're going to? How do you make sure that they can get to that mobile page that you know that they're experiencing the most, with really analyzing the information that they need? So making that plan to revitalize that data really improves what those KPI performances are. We know that ADA compliance is a big thing. And while we don't anticipate necessarily that ADA compliance is something we should be paying attention to, it is the law. And there are a lot of different organizations that are making sure that people are meeting these requirements. There's additional plugins and steps that can be taken to make sure that you are ADA compliant and that the screen readers are able to crawl your website and produce the valuable information. And we've got clients that are, they're celebrating their 100th anniversary, and 100 years ago, there wasn't ADA compliance to be taking a look at color resolutions. And if somebody is vision impaired, how do those colors appear to them? And with some of these modules that's available, it can automatically be making changes. And so it's not something that you have to rebrand your entire company. I mean, 100-year-old logo is significant brand recognition. So how do we make that viable so that you are meeting those minimum standards so that you can avoid a lawsuit? We have seen a large uptick in this coming out, and making sure that you're checking your tech for ADA compliance is real important. And then I like to say that Google is kind of they're the big behemoth in the room as far as organic and paid search goes. And they really like themselves. The more that you play with Google and their tools that they're using, the better that you're going to be having an organic search ranking that happens. You want your ideal clients to find you when they type in your keywords. One of the things that Google uses is how updated your Google business profile is. You need to make sure it's set up the right way. And every once in a while, I mean, Google will throw something in there that they've changed or they've added an additional component. And while they say that Google is free, these Google business profiles are free, they're really not. They take time, they take energy. And if you're not an expert in this, it can take double the amount of time for you to try to figure that out versus working with somebody who's in the tool on a daily basis. So it is considered like a little miniature website that is, again, they say it's free, but it's not. But when you go and do a search for something, and in your browser on the right-hand side, you'll see the information that pops up. It's usually some pictures of what your building looks like, or different products that you may have. It's the hours of operation, it's your address, and then you'll see the Google reviews. And so take time to make sure that that is completely filled out, because you will have a higher organic ranking. And it is a lot easier when you pop up with your full business profile for your ideal client to be able to click on it versus going to a competitor. We also need to make sure that we are reviewing and updating any legal documentation. There's privacy policy information that should be reviewed by your attorney, as well as some of the different terms and conditions that you have and what you offer that come along with your products and services. That is a requirement for businesses to have on their website. And if you're using a canned piece of, or a canned template, make sure you're customizing it for your accurate information, because those details really do matter. The other real quick check in with tech would be reviewing annual contracts. I don't know about you, but it is a lot of work to keep track of all of the different SaaS programs that you may be using to run your business that are automatically renewing on your credit card. And sometimes it's really easy to let like a $20 item continually renew each month and trying to track that down. And so I just encourage you for this next year to really get a great management program in place to review those annual contracts. And if that software is open up for renewal, look to see if you are using it, what an annual payment and the discount that you could get, and just get rid of the stuff that you're not using. We have found that each one of the different SaaS programs that we use to run our business, each year they're making improvements and they're adding additional components that we may be paying another third party for that one piece of technology that can now be slid all together. And so there is cost savings opportunities that are there. And then finally, I mean, we all hear about AI. I think I get an invitation on a daily basis to attend a different AI webinar, and I'll say, hey, we've done them too. It's important, and it is moving so fast. It is fast and furious. It changes all the time. So lean into some of the tools that may be applicable in order to find efficiencies within your business. Sometimes efficiencies mean reduced costs, and I think it's important for all of us to be very aware of the budgets that we're setting forth for 2025 and take a look at those tools. I just encourage everybody to set time on your calendar on a monthly basis to dive in and see what AI tools are there. It is never going to replace the human element. And I think that's why we spent so much time talking about that human element on the previous slide, is because we need that relationship. AI is not a relationship. AI is a tool. And it's a good tool, but within certain parameters. And each business has got those different parameters, but use it to find efficiencies. I think it's going to be an amazing thing as it continues to evolve.
Nice word.
I do like that word.
Okay, so let's talk about auditing the right marketing channels for your business and really looking at if the marketing that we are currently doing right now is going to still be relevant for the year ahead.
So what is going to be relevant in 2025? I wish that we all had a crystal ball. Wouldn't that be absolutely wonderful? We could just look to see what is coming down the pipeline. But the reality of it is there is a little bit of insight that is available. There are trendsetters that we can take a peek at, but really assessing what your marketing channels are doing and what you're using today is important, because is it driving the right traffic? And has your strategy changed, that what was set in place in 2023, 2024, and what's planned for 2025, is it going to be bringing the right traffic? And then again, are those leads going to come in and are they going to be able to convert? So what are those results going to be? What are they going to be? The rules of engagement have changed for SEO. Google changes the rules for pay-per-click all the time. Is social media really the best place for you to be on? All the channels right now are really under, I'm going to say, a magnifying lens, because people want to make sure that they're getting the biggest bang for their buck. What do they have to do? What should they do? And what do they want to do? Those are three different questions that really lead into marketing. So understanding what social is, and then email marketing. We all get inundated with email marketing, but what a wonderful way to be able to continue to communicate. But does it convert? Does it have the right call to action? Does it lead to landing pages that have the same marketing language that is going to help to convert? Is there gated content? What is your overall marketing strategy for this is? And then I'm going to say, social media, it's a love-hate relationship. Are you really active on all the platforms that your customers are most frequent? If you're a B2B company, are your clients hanging out on, I want to say,
LinkedIn.
Yeah. LinkedIn. Yeah, they are. They're probably not sitting out on TikTok. If you're in a retail environment, boy, those videos are really fun to watch. And so really taking that assessment of where are your clients hanging out and to be where they are. We've got many B2B clients that were like, Facebook doesn't do anything for us. But I guess I would challenge them to consider Facebook is a really great place to be talking about your culture. And if you are going to be expanding your team, those future hires are going to go and they're going to look at your Facebook page, because they're going to want to see, what is it really like to be a part of that team? And, we're a huge proponent of using an omni-channel approach. I think it is the most successful piece to be able to do it. And the word omni-channel has been kind of a buzzword for the last year or so for us. And what it really means is, how can you spend the money to create the best content that's going to do the most conversion, but then how do you use it across all the different social media pieces? So how are you going to be able to make the investment in the time? And then how does it speak to each one of the audiences, whether it's blog, articles, videos, paid ads? So as an example, we're doing this webinar right now. And one of the things that Shannon and I are going to work on is finding little video clips that can be repurposed in different marketing. And so we're not having to invest in creating all new marketing and copy for all the different channels, but how are we going to repurpose it? And that's where that strategy comes into play, and making sure that you are really, I want to say, being budget conscious, because I think that's a huge topic that everybody is on right now. And then data. I mean, marketing it creates a feeling. The story creates a feeling. It's an experience, but we can't leverage what an ROI is on feelings. I mean, it's great, but business owners need to leverage the data. And so if you are investing money in marketing, you really need to be understanding and being aligned with the KPIs that make the most amount of reporting difference for you. So I always like to say a KPI that is important to the sales team is going to be a different KPI that is important to your marketing team versus somebody in the C-suite or the business owner or a member of a venture capital group. They have different KPIs. And so how is it that you're going to leverage this data to make sure that you are providing the value by using an omni-channel approach to get the biggest bang for your buck? Because that's what everybody is really looking for. So what is it that needs to change in order to be able to leverage all of this?
I like that you really talked about being in the right places for people. I think it's been a misconception for a number of years now with the social media boom that you need to be everywhere. But truly, if you are going to be putting out content that speaks to your audience, you just want to be in the right places.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be everywhere, but if you are going to be somewhere, if you're going to have the Facebook page, you have to have a plan for it and you have to manage it well. Because I would say worse than not having the page is having a page that isn't kept up, because it makes you look like you're not on top of your stuff or that you're not getting that content out there.
Yeah, no, it's very important. And it is easy to be able to take the same talking points and to restructure those, repurpose them into a different type of content that really reflects what that social media channel is. I mean, people have their favorites. I know some people that they never even go on Facebook, but they're on LinkedIn, I want to say 24/7. They get addicted to it. And if you're not taking the time to build out those LinkedIn business pages, you're missing out. I mean, yes, it's free and it's not free, but take advantage of all of those different opportunities. You know, publish an article on LinkedIn, and that can be different than what your blog is, but have all of those links. That strategy piece needs to come together so that you can utilize that omni-channel approach.
Let's talk about financial responsibility and budgeting for digital success, really looking at how we can budget for scalable growth and how we can invest in the right tools and talent. So let's start by talking about budgeting for scalable growth.
Well, I think it's important that we always look for those areas where you can add enterprise value. And you can have a business owner that wants to see, here's what the marketing plan is, and it might be totally different than what the marketing director really has in mind. And so adding that enterprise value is really a key to the overall success. And people often ask, well, what is enterprise value? And I, again, will just echo the statement that your website really is a digital asset, and that asset has value on it. And so if you're putting out and thinking, is it good enough? Are you doing the minimum amount? That's not adding enterprise value to what the overall value of your company is. And so anything that you are doing with marketing really needs to be leveraging that long-term success strategy. So you're not doing marketing for right now. A lot of times you're doing marketing for the future. And so looking at, what are some of our future process efficiencies and taking advantage of that omni-channel experience. How much does it cost for a customer acquisition? And then how do you return those? I mean, that's that enterprise value. That's all about the process. We talked a little bit ago about you're doing your marketing, you're generating the sale, you're closing it, and then that customer retention. How much does that cost? And if there's areas that you can say, boy, we just need to add this little slice of additional TLC for our client journey, that's adding enterprise value. And so really understanding what the key performance indicator in those benchmarks are is going to continue to bring that value. And when we work with companies that are owned by a venture capital group, this is one of the first questions that they ask. How are you adding long-term value? There's, when we work with clients that their average sales turnaround cycle is really short, and I consider short 30 days or less, they forget about this part because they're after the immediate hunt and kill. When we're working with clients where their average sales cycle is 6 months from now, how are you tracking that amount of time? We'll get inquiries from client opportunities that are from 2 years ago, where the timing is now right for a client to be able to engage. And it's because we continue to add our enterprise value in the things that we are just very mindfully doing, is is adding the overall value to the company. So if you were to do an exit tomorrow, would the business be successful if you weren't in there? And let me explain that a little bit more, but we see a lot of business owners like, I don't need marketing. I get all my business from referrals. And what we see happening is there's a changing of the guard. There's a new way of doing business. And I get so tired of hearing the word COVID. I think that was a miserable experience for all of us, but I think we can all agree that life is different and business is different. It is so different after we went through that we have to remember that our sales cycles have completely changed. And that is a part of that customer journey that you have to be able to look at. But if you are looking at exiting your business and exiting anytime soon, when you leave, if you don't have your sales plan and your marketing plan just solidly implemented, when you walk out the door, a big chunk of that value walks out the door as well. And that's why it is so important to make sure that when you are putting together your marketing plan, that it's sustainable and that there's a process in place for it to follow, because life happens. You may get pulled out of your business or you may have employee turnover. If your rockstar employee leaves, are all of those contacts leaving? And that's really where understanding that scalability and using the right tools, and we'll talk about CRMs in just a little bit here, but making sure that that value is within the company. It's not invested in a single person. You know, culture is really important to our team at Evolve. We want to make those investments in culture. We want to be able to set our team up for success. We enjoy being able to, you know, provide opportunities for them to continue to learn and grow in their individual swim lanes. But we also have to make sure that that information is being translated back into the company. And that's all part of the marketing and the sales plan. And so it's really important to focus on this in a holistic approach. And then dedicating those healthy budgets to deliver on your goals is really important. You know, it's funny. We sometimes as humans will have this misnomer that goes through our minds that it's good enough, or I'm going to do the bare minimum, but I'm going to expect the largest results. And marketing is different. Marketing is you get what you put into it. Marketing should not be thought of as a business expense. It really is a business investment when you have a solid strategy that's put behind it. And we all invest back in our business. And taking a look at marketing as that true investment is a different way to just get a little bit more of that freedom to say, hey, I am going to provide this healthy budget. And taking a look at, gosh, if I get one client, if one client converts, what's the value of that business? And understanding that that value is what you have to invest in, and putting together what those budgets are based on that is important. So really taking a look at that website optimization. Are the marketing campaigns, is this the right campaign for delivering exactly what I need at this time? And then what new digital tools are out there? My gosh, there's so many new ones. And taking a look at time and money for what digital tools can develop. So really scale your digital operations and base that on what your marketing budget is. Take a look at what's working and what's not working. If something is not working, why are you continuing to invest in it? Why not do different A/B testing results to see where you're going to get a better income coming in from it? And then again, focus on those data-driven strategies. Calculate what the ROI is, and measure success across all of the digital platforms. Data is so valuable to be able to have those KPIs. It helps to set what those goals are, and it helps to be able to have goals that are measurable and that they're realistic. And then finally, I think this is really important that businesses miss out on, is that it is known that you have sales and marketing, and you tend to have this pressure that goes back between them. Sales says that they're not able to be as successful as they want to be because marketing isn't delivering, and marketing says that sales isn't delivering because they're not converting what the leads are that marketing is coming in. And I just encourage business owners, when we engage with them, is to really create a revenue opportunity or a revenue umbrella, because both sales and marketing is under that same umbrella. And when people can find synergy within those two departments, it's like watching magic happen. And so it's important to diversify so that you don't have all of your marketing budget only going to one thing, but to also then stabilize it so that you've got a guaranteed lead source that's coming in, that you know how to convert, that the journey of the client experience works. It's a winning combination. And just set aside that time for marketing and sales to talk with each other. A lot of our clients miss that, and they'll have sales meetings and then they have marketing meetings, but they never have them together. And that needs to happen more than just once a year when you're making your planning sessions. So it's fun when you get to see that magic happen.
So how do you invest in the right tools and talent?
Oh, here's that CRM that we talked about. So I want to say understanding how your team and tech can really work together is important. And is it efficient? Some CRM systems are way overkill for what clients are needing, and some are really lacking. And finding that right balance for what you need. Does your CRM, does it integrate into other tools within your company? And then do you have the right tracking invested for those analytics? A CRM can be a beautiful thing or it can be a huge hindrance. And it's a big commitment to a company. And we see companies that are using outdated technology and they're looking at what their competitors are doing and they're wondering, gosh, how are they keeping up? And then we have some tools that are so complicated that you can't get the general best business practices out of it. So where can you automate it? Where does it need to have the human element piece added back in? And then how do you track it? And having a partner with you that really understands what is important for you to be able to measure the success is critical. And having a monthly check-in to ask questions, to be able to talk about changes also really works for that team and technology conversion. And then kind of touch base on this, but reevaluating the tools that you're using. Is what you have in place really the best option? Or is it so archaic that it's actually slowing you down? And if something just continues to sit on your plate without it being touched, how do you delegate it? How do you prioritize it? How do you adjust or how do you remove it? And, when people come to me and ask you, Marnie, how do you do what you do? And how do you do what you do well? And I always laugh because it's like, oh gosh, the journey is filled with lots of ups and downs. But I will oftentimes sit down and make that quadrant just on a piece of paper. What do I do really well that I really enjoy doing? What am I good at doing that I can do? What is it that I have to do that I'm kind of adequate at it? And what is it that I don't like to do that I just am really bad at doing? And making sure to align and adjust the time that I'm spending so that I can find joy in my day. Because if we're all working on things that we know we're not good at and that we don't enjoy doing, guess what? There's people that love to do what we don't like to do. And so that's identifying that right tools and the right talent. And that kind of goes right in line with finding the right agency, because it is not a one size fits all. If you are a smaller company and you're like, man, I'm going to really invest in marketing, I'm going to go with the biggest agency out there, you're going to be considered a little tadpole in their pond, and you're not going to get the time and attention that you need or that you deserve or that you're paying for. And conversely, if you are a larger company and you're working with a smaller marketing agency and they're too small to understand what it is that you're doing, they can't scale with you as your business scales, you might outgrow them. And so you're paying for them to learn. And that may not be the best thing to be able to do either. So making sure that you find the best partner that really gets you, that they understand about you, that they're passionate about your business is important. Because when you have a agency that you work with where their team members are bringing their passion each and every day to the programs that they are working on for you, you're going to get a lot more dedication. You're going to find people that are invested in your success and that they want to celebrate with you. And I think that's real important. So finding that right piece is great. And the other piece that we take a look at is really looking at the people that are in your team. And sometimes people have been promoted when maybe they shouldn't have been promoted into that position, or maybe they're doing it because somebody left and gosh, it's just a habit at this point, but they're not passionate about it. Or maybe it's somebody that's been doing it for 30 years and your competition is now got some new young blood that's doing it. It's like, how do you make sure that you are aligned properly and that what you really are delivering is working? I think that's a really good point.
So we can dive right into our key takeaways and give you a digital success checklist to let you evaluate this on your own before we open up the floor for Q&A. And we do have some time to go a little bit over if we have to with the questions. So key takeaways from today's webinar that we really just want to make sure we drive home is that your business plan and your marketing strategy are not the same thing, but they should be designed to support each other. Start with that business plan, pull out any of those key goals that can be influenced by marketing, and create a strategy around that so that everything is supporting that same process. Second, your website is a continuous work in progress. This will always be true as long as websites exist. The more that you're able to keep a pulse on it and update it often, the better you're going to be playing because your competitors are going to be keeping that content up to date. Third is to know that being everywhere is a waste of effort when you can focus solely on where your customers engage most. So this comes in again to those social media platforms. If you're not getting a good return from spending all of that time creating content and putting it out there, then maybe it's just not the right channel. And I would cut the losses and redirect that effort into a channel that does deliver so you can nurture that process. Fourth is real goals need real budgets. So set them, monitor them, and grow them as one. If you expect to achieve something, you have to be willing to put in the effort to get there. And that does include investing the time and money into something. So make sure that you're realistic about what your expectations are and what you're willing to put into those goals. And then lastly is to remember, in a world where everyone can be good, it takes intentional effort and innovation to be great. So we do have a tool for you here. You can scan this here. Otherwise, like I said, I will be sending out this deck after this presentation, but we have a free digital success checklist that can help you rank where your company's at. And we really recommend downloading this and distributing it to key members of your team to really look at what their opinions are in each of these and cross-reference your numbers, and then look at whatever boxes are not checked. How can you give attention to that? Who needs to be the right person to put that in place? And how can you get that in at the end of this year or as a plan leading into next year? So this is a really useful tool. We do encourage you to check it out. But instead of taking up any more time talking about this, I will let Marnie open up the floor for questions. So our chat is open at the bottom of the screen if you have anything you'd like to say. Otherwise, we do have a couple of other questions that have been emailed to us that we can start with. So the chat is open now. Marnie, let's just start with one of the common questions that we have with some of our partners. How do we evaluate if we should be investing in an in-house marketing person or if we should be working with an agency as our partner?
I think that taking an evaluation of really what that marketing strategy needs to be and identifying where you're going to be spending your time, and then taking a look at who on that marketing team is an expert in that area. You can have a really great in-house person that can be a generalist that can really help to point all of the strategy in the right direction. And they would be capable of working on a lot of these different platforms. It's just not the best use of their time. And so finding somebody that is a specialist in an area that can assist with it is really the smartest approach, because time equals money. And if you're a specialist in an area, you can get things done so much faster than if you're a generalist. And it takes a whole lot of time to be able to identify, learn, execute, and then move forward to actually do it.
Would it be safe to say that marketing is not a one-person job?
It is not a one-person job. I think years ago it used to be, but it is not anymore. I mean, we've got people that are dedicated specifically to copywriting, that understand keyword research and understand how to be weaving the copy into what converts on a website versus what converts on a traditional piece of marketing or marketing collateral. It is a different game. It has changed so much. So having specialists that really own that and understand what the market is demanding is important. And not one single person can be an expert in all of it.
How do I increase my organic traffic and improve my Google rankings?
I think it's that piece back to content. It really is important to be taking a look at what platforms your ideal audience is going to be on. And we mentioned the word Google an awful lot, but Google is not the only player in it. I mean, we all know that Apple, iPhone, that those programs come right from the factory. You open the beautiful packaging and the browser that's loaded is Safari. We know that there's some applications that people are still using Firefox. We understand that that Meta is certainly changing the rules. And so making sure that you're paying attention to that omni-channel approach, not only for what the social media channels are, but how your website is being evaluated, because AI has changed the rules. AI does not just use Google. AI uses a variety of different browsers, and you have to make sure that each browser is has got its special TLC that you're putting that attention on.
And what strategies can I use to increase my customer loyalty and retention?
I think it's the journey and it's the relationship. I think that it really boils down to making sure that when you are looking at how to improve everything that you're wanting to work on, that you have to take into consideration, it's the strategy that speaks to the ideal client. And that loyalty is building those relationships. We're in a transactional world, but we are relationship driven, and our human element is more important today than it ever was before. So focusing in on what matters and building a strong relationship is crucial.
So Jeff has submitted a question, and I'd actually like to take this one, Marnie, if you don't mind.
Sure.
He asks, when it comes to landing pages for a website, does providing specific pages for defined personas or sectors of your target audience become too cumbersome from a user perspective? And that is a really great question, because when is too much content a real thing, right? Or how much effort is too much effort? What I would say is to test this and look at the data. I would start to partition out that information and really see, is there a value in speaking to this person A differently than I would speak to person B? And if there are a lot of use cases, if that's going to help your sales team send something that's really direct content or make your customers feel like you're speaking directly to them, it's absolutely worth the effort. What I would try is get something up there, spend a little bit of time making it work, and just see if the interest is there. If the data immediately shows you nobody cares to go to this page, then I wouldn't spend the time building it out. But if you see that breaking out your audiences further is going to create a better reach and even give you an opportunity for better SEO and better page intent, which Google really cares about, then it is a sound strategy.
Yeah. And Jeff just posted another question. I'll take that one. And it's, how often should a company review its terms and conditions and privacy policies? Does it differ depending on the platform that the website is built? And really what those policies are is it is legal language. And so it doesn't matter what platform that your website is on. Now, obviously, you're going to have different terms and conditions if you're an e-commerce website versus a standard informational website. And so what your policies are really about the terms and conditions that how you do business. And so that's why it's important to have your legal team review it. As different state laws or federal laws change, all of that needs to be incorporated into it. We see privacy policies changing in different states. Like right now, when people think of the GDPR privacy policies and some of the canned spam law policies, there's certain states that have taken a larger initiative to put that front and center. California is the first one that always comes to mind. And if you are doing business in California, ADA compliance should also be front and center, because that is a hotbed right now. And then as far as your privacy policies, how are you marketing? And, depending upon what your industry requirements are, if you fall under HIPAA, your privacy policy is going to need to be much different than a standard informational privacy policy. And then what are your cookies policies and how are you tracking this data? And if you are in healthcare, that's a whole new set of rules. So really understanding where you need to fall is a great conversation to have, not only with, again, your attorney, but also the marketing agency that you're working with.
This is really a legal thing that's going to cover your butt should anything happen. So typically there's a certain level of standard information. You can hop on Google and explore some privacy policies. You should be able to see them on every single website linked in the footer if you want to just poke around what some of them are. But bringing in a lawyer to just give oversight and make sure that you have covered all of your legal bases is a smart route to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with branding and copyright information. And we do partner with several different law firms that specialize in different areas. So if somebody needs to really know who to work with that they can trust, we can make a few recommendations for that as well. And then Jeff, thank you for this question. And it is in 2025, does Evolve have a recommendation, AI or not, that a business should keep an eye on for website tech tools? The first one that comes to mind for us is chatbots. And we are seeing that chatbots in and of themselves can be AI driven, where like we have one on our website that we've gone through and tested it, and while it's not perfect because it's not human, it certainly does provide information that is relevant and it's current based on what is on our website. And so this chatbot it's an affordable tool. It can help direct people to the right information. And really what it's doing is scanning the website for the content that you have on the website, and then it's repurposing it. So it's like having a conversation with a real person, and it gets you to the point to where you are close enough to where a potential ideal client can either self-select out that it's not a good fit, or they can identify, hey, I need to have a conversation. And when we went to, I want to say, digital everything, and this is not just we being, Shannon and I and our Evolve team, this is we as a country, we as a world, we're working with different time zones. And when people are working with all the different remote policies, we have to make sure that even though our standard business hours of 8 to 5 Central Standard Time, that may not line up when people are wanting to do searching or doing their research or needing to find information. And so making sure that we are keeping it really, really front and center to be able to get that information. That chatbot is just one thing. Is there anything that comes to mind, or do you think that's like the primary one now?
The chatbot is a great tool. I would say also just to make sure that you have something that gives you a pulse on what your analytics are and the SEO health of your website. There's a bajillion tools out there, some free, some paid. And again, an agency partner can give you a more in-depth assessment of which ones are best for you. But just make sure that you have a good pulse on those things. And then lastly, I would also say Canva is a big piece of the future for people who want to be able to take some of their marketing into their own hands, because we do move really quickly. You might need to create an entire event for tomorrow, and you don't have time to contact your agency team and even tell them what the project is. But if we have you set up in Canva where we've created your brand kit, we've uploaded all of your assets, we've created the templates for you, you can actually just go in there and click and put things together. And there is an AI assist tool in there that will help you craft content, all of those things. So when you need a quick pivot and you don't have time to get help, that is a great tool to rely on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last question here is for KPIs, how deep do you go into different departments to ensure that you understand the full picture? And you're still trying to define it and looking for recommendations. That is a really great strategy question. And again, there's that difference between the business plan and a marketing plan, and how well do you tie that in? And what are the metrics that are needed for marketing for a business owner to determine whether or not it's working correctly? And we can take a look at, here's what the specifics are like for a pay-per-click campaign. So if somebody's investing and they say, I'm going to be spending a set amount of money during the day and a set amount of money that's going to be different at night, because we understand that our traffic is different during those times. What are those budgets? And then how do we determine with different testing whether or not that investment is going to be providing the best ROI? Your CFO may be wondering, well, how much money are we spending? And yet your marketing person is looking, how many different conversions or how many impressions do we have? And then how do those impressions turn over to real opportunities? But then the CFO may be saying, here's the expense for this month, but we have a 6-month sales cycle. How are we going to generalize that? And so it really leads into understanding what the overall plan is for that revenue team, and how the revenue team is connecting to make sure that not only is the CFO aligned and understanding that there's risks and everything. Google does not guarantee a single thing other than they love taking your money. That's their guarantee. And it's really hard to if you don't have a direct rep with Google, to sometimes get answers from them, which is why a lot of people don't take the risk of trying to do it themselves, because they don't have the same type of direct rep relationship that an agency does with somebody. And taking a look at how do we communicate here's what your marketing KPIs are, and here's what your KPIs that your CFO is going to look for. And sometimes they get reported in different timeframes. And what does success look like? Because what a CFO is going to say, this is a really great success, is completely different than what a marketing director or marketing manager is going to look at. And what is that time frame on how to be doing those evaluations?
I would say to also go about that by delegating down and then elevating up. So start by delegating to your individual leads to talk to their companies about it and to have those conversations to start to figure out what matters to them to measure, what do they want to see happen with the business, and then leave it to those department heads to come together with leadership and have that larger conversation about, does this play into our business and marketing plan? Is this going to align with us? And how do we put some numerical goals around all of this? We're able to measure across the board.
Mm-hmm. Jack, did you have a question?
No, I did not. Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
Okay.
You mentioned TWS.
Yes.
And so that sounds like a review program that you do. And is there a basic fee for something like that? Or can you send me some information about what the TWS consists of?
Yeah, absolutely. We have different programs that are put together based on the amount of the modules or plugins that are in a website and the amount of time that it takes each month to go through and do that. So we'll definitely reach out and find a program that would be a perfect solution for what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marnie.
Yeah, thank you, Jack.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our webinar here. I will be sending out this deck, so it has all of the slides, the recording of the webinar if you'd like to watch again or share, and then that link to that tool that we have so that you can get your checklist in the hands of your team.
Yeah, Shannon, thank you. This was fun.
Thank you. This was fun. Marnie, you're always such a pleasure to listen to, and you're just such a wealth of knowledge. So it's really great.
Hi, baby.
Yeah, it's teamwork. We love it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.